Right now, there are men out there smarter, hungrier, more dangerous than you, who already know what I'm about to reveal. They're using these secrets to take what you want while you're still hesitating. This isn't just about attraction. This is about power. The power to walk into any room and command attention. The power to make her heartbeat sync with yours. The power to turn indifference into obsession. I could tell you this is about confidence or self-improvement, but that would be a lie. This is about war. A silent war being fought in every glance, every conversation, every moment of hesitation where most men crumble. And you're either the predator or the prey. There is no middle ground. What I'm about to show you isn't taught in books. It's not something you'll learn from your friends. These are the forbidden truths, the psychological triggers that bypass logic and speak directly to her primal instincts. We're going to dissect the exact moment attraction turns to addiction. We're going to expose why 97% of men fail before they even open their mouths. And most importantly, I'm going to hand you the weapons you need to dominate this game. But here's the brutal truth: knowledge without action is suicide. If you're not ready to transform, if you're not willing to burn the weak man you used to be, click off now. Because what comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about women, about power, about yourself. The question isn't whether this works. The question is, do you have the courage to use it? Let's start with a fundamental truth. Human beings are wired to seek value. It's not shallow, it's evolutionary. Women, just like men, are instinctively drawn to those who stand out, who command respect, who carry themselves with a quiet, unshakable certainty. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding the deeper psychological mechanisms that govern attraction. If you want a woman to crave you, you must first become someone worth craving. So, what does that mean? It means you don't win her over by giving her everything she wants. That's the mistake most men make. They think if they're nice enough, available enough, accommodating enough. Another critical element is social proof. Human beings are tribal creatures. We look to others to determine value. If you're respected by other men, if you're admired in your social circles, if you're someone of influence, her perception of you changes. She doesn't just see you, she sees how the world sees you. And if the world sees you as a man of substance, she will too. This isn't about being fake or putting on a show. It's about building a life that commands respect. And here's the most important part: your purpose. Nothing is more attractive than a man who is consumed by a mission greater than himself. A man who wakes up with fire in his eyes, who is relentless in his pursuit of excellence, who doesn't have time to beg for attention because he's too busy building something meaningful. That kind of drive is magnetic. It creates an aura of inevitability around you. Women don't just want you in that state. They want to be part of that journey. They want to feel chosen by a man who could have anyone but chooses them. So ask yourself, are you the kind of man a woman would fight to keep? Or are you just another option in her life? If it's the latter, the solution isn't to try harder to win her over. The solution is to become someone who doesn't need to. Because here's the truth. When you stop seeking validation and start embodying value, the world bends to meet you. And that's when she'll not just want you, she'll crave you. The question isn't whether she'll choose you. The question is, will you choose yourself first? Let's talk about human nature. Because once you understand how desire truly works, everything changes. Have you ever noticed how the things we can't quite have hold the most power over us? That unfinished project gnawing at your mind, the song chorus stuck on repeat, the person who gives you just enough attention to keep you hooked but never enough to feel secure. This isn't coincidence. It's the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains obsess over unresolved tension. And when applied to attraction, this principle becomes devastatingly powerful. Most men make the fatal error of being predictable. They flood her with attention, respond instantly to every message, mold their schedules around her whims, and then wonder why she loses interest. But here's the uncomfortable truth: certainty kills chemistry. When a woman knows exactly how you feel, exactly when you'll text, exactly what you'll sacrifice for her, you've removed the thrill of the chase. And without that tension, without that dance between does he or doesn't he, you become background noise in her life. This is where push-pull mastery separates the men who are forgotten from the men who are unforgettable. The push-pull dynamic isn't manipulation, it's emotional storytelling. Think of the greatest movies you've ever seen. What made them compelling? Conflict, tension, moments where the hero seemed lost, only to rise again. Now apply that to attraction. When you're warm and engaged one moment, pull, then distant and focused on your own world the next, push. You're not playing games. You're creating an emotional narrative she can't help but invest in. You become the mysterious stranger in the novel she can't put down, not the footnote in her story she skips over. Let's break down the neuroscience behind why this works. Dopamine, the wanting chemical, surges not when we receive rewards, but when they're unpredictable. Slot machines exploit this perfectly. You don't win every time, but the chance you might keeps you pulling the lever. Apply this to your interactions. If every text from you is eager, every compliment is expected, every date is scheduled like clockwork, you've turned yourself into a vending machine. Press a button, get a treat. Boring. But when you're inconsistent in the right ways, when sometimes you're deeply present and other times aloof, when you flirt intensely then shift focus, you tap into that primal dopamine loop. She starts checking her phone not because she knows you'll be there, but because she doesn't. But, and this is critical, push-pull only works when the pull is strong enough to justify the push. You can't just disappear and call it strategy. The warmth, the connection, the magnetic attraction must be real when you engage. That's why so many men fail at this. They focus solely on the push, playing hard to get, without ever being worth getting in the first place. The master understands this dancer. He's not withholding attention because he's scared. He's redirecting it toward his purpose. He's not ignoring her to seem busy. He's genuinely occupied building something extraordinary. And that paradox, a man fully capable of intimacy but not desperate for it. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the same powerful conditioning that keeps people addicted to social media. She never knows which version of you she'll get, the charming conversationalist or the focused man who politely excuses himself. And that uncertainty keeps you occupying her thoughts. But the highest level of push-pull isn't about tactics. It's about identity. When you're truly secure in yourself, when your sense of worth isn't tied to her reactions, this dynamic happens naturally. You don't force distance to manipulate. You simply have a life too full to cling. You don't rehearse hot and cold strategies. You're genuinely passionate about your mission one moment and present with her the next. That authenticity is what separates the masters from the manipulators. So ask yourself, are you the predictable, always available option? Or are you the compelling mystery she can't stop unraveling? Because in the end, women don't remember the men who gave them everything. They remember the men who made them feel everything. Let's begin with a fundamental truth about human nature. We are not rational creatures who occasionally feel. We are emotional creatures who occasionally think. This is especially true when it comes to attraction. A woman doesn't fall for you because of a logical list of your qualities. She falls because of how you make her feel. And if you want her to crave you, not just today, but consistently, you must master the art of emotional resonance. Most men make the critical mistake of approaching attraction like a job interview. They list their accomplishments. They try to prove their worth. They attempt to negotiate desire through reason. But this fails every time, because you cannot logic your way into someone's heart. Think about the stories that move you, the music that gives you chills, the memories that stay vivid years later. They all have one thing in common: they touched you. They made you feel something. And that's exactly what you must do for her. So how does this work in practice? First, understand that emotions exist on a spectrum. If you make her feel only one thing, comfort, for example, you become predictable, and predictability is the death of passion. But if you take her on an emotional journey, laughter followed by intrigue, challenge followed by warmth, you create a psychological imprint she can't shake. This isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding that attraction thrives on contrast. Let's break this down. Humor is one of your most powerful tools, not just because it makes her laugh, but because it establishes a connection that feels effortless. When you can make a woman laugh, you bypass her defenses. You create a moment of shared understanding that feels alive. But if humor is all you have, you risk becoming the clown, the entertainer, the one she likes but doesn't desire. That's why the next step is crucial: depth. After lightness, you pivot to something meaningful, a thought, a personal story, a question that makes her pause. This shift from playful to profound creates emotional whiplash in the best way. Suddenly, she's not just having fun with you, she's experiencing you. Then there's the element of challenge. Most men are so afraid of losing her that they agree with everything she says, comply with every request, and suffocate her with approval. But this is a fatal error. Desire doesn't grow in a vacuum of constant validation. It grows in the tension between yes and no. When you challenge her, playfully, intelligently, you stand out. You're not another echo in her life. You're a voice she has to lean in to hear. A well-placed debate, a teasing remark, even a moment where you hold your ground on something you believe in. These things create friction, and friction creates fire. But here's the key: challenge without warmth is just antagonism. After you've pushed, you must pull. After the debate, you find common ground. After the tease, you reassure. This is the dance, creating enough tension to keep her engaged, then resolving it in a way that leaves her wanting more. It's the same principle behind great storytelling: conflict and resolution. If there's no conflict, the story is boring. If there's no resolution, it's frustrating. But when you balance both, you create something unforgettable. Now, let's talk about vulnerability, because this is where most men either fail or refuse to engage. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strategic authenticity. When you share something real, not oversharing, not desperation, but a moment of genuine openness, you invite her into your world. You show her that you're not just another guy trying to impress her. You're a man with layers, with a past, with emotions that run deep. This is how you transition from being interesting to being important to her. But timing is everything. Vulnerability too soon feels inappropriate, too late feels calculated. The master reveals just enough at just the right time, leaving her curious, moved, and emotionally invested. Finally, there's the element of mystery. You don't lay all your cards on the table at once. You don't explain every detail of your life in the first conversation. You leave room for her imagination. Because what she imagines about you will always be more compelling than what you could ever explain. This doesn't mean being cryptic or dishonest. It means understanding that attraction grows in the spaces between what's said and what's left unsaid. So, ask yourself, are you engaging her mind and her emotions? Are you creating moments that linger in her memory long after you're gone? Because that's the difference between being another face in the crowd and becoming someone she can't stop thinking about. The most powerful thing you can ever become is not just a man she likes, but a man she feels, deeply, irresistibly, and without explanation.